Hi, I'm Dr. Safaya, a medical doctor who doubles as an email marketing expert. In here, I take you behind the scenes of failed and successful email marketing campaigns. You get to see what these amazing individuals have tried that worked and didn't work in email marketing. If you've been curious and like me, you want to know what other people out there are really doing in email marketing, then join me as I go behind the scenes. Welcome back to Email Marketing Experiments. Today we've got a special mashup from our open rate confessions where guests share their biggest email marketing mistakes. Get ready to learn, laugh, and take away some lessons you can use right away. Let's jump in. Before we go deep into the whole email and analytics talk, it's time for you to make a confession, Teecee. We're starting off with our open rates confession. So what do you consider your biggest email marketing flop/mistake?
Oh my God, I've made a series of mistakes when it comes down to email marketing, honestly. And I believe that those mistakes are like very tiny mistakes, but they're very costly mistakes, like very costly mistakes. Let me remember a most recent one. So before you start your email marketing ecosystem, certain best practices that you need to put in place, right? Like set up your account the right way, whatever tool you're using. So many people do not know that you need to set up those accounts the right way, put in your email services, put in your sender name, sender email, all of those things. I mean, it's very, very important. Now, depending on what tool you use, setting up your email marketing platform is one of the best practices that basically set you up for success. Because say, for example, if you don't have a personalized setting, right, you just keep sending out random emails. And so what basically differentiates you from the next person when people cannot connect with you on a personal level, right? That's just an example. Now, one mistake that I made a very, very recent was the fact that I just assumed that this particular new client of mine already had his email marketing tool set up. Why? Because he had somebody who initially have worked with it. And so I just assumed. So we built an entire email campaign. It had about 5 sequences. Each sequence had between 5 to 8 emails. Now, we also had SMS campaigns as well, same settings and timelines and all of that. Now, everything was set, ready to go. I was so excited. And thankfully, and I say thankfully because, I mean, we're able to save something, but it was one, like my very most recent, and this thing I'm saying it literally happened about, I think 7-8 months ago, right? And it was very embarrassing. Now, what was embarrassing? The email went out, okay? Now, when the email went out, for some reason, the email went out as me. Yeah, no, that's tricky. It went out as me. It was not supposed to go out as me. It was supposed to go out as my client, right? Now, why did the email go out as me? I didn't do nothing. I didn't put nothing. Like, how did it happen? It was like the most embarrassing thing ever. And I'm like, what's happening? Now, this is me initially just assuming, oh, this happened. And immediately it happened, I just, had to immediately fix it. I'll tell you how I was able to fix the issue, but it was very embarrassing, because that was one mistake that I know that on a normal day, I would never, like, even when I just started, I wouldn't even make that kind of mistake. But, you get to a stage, you just feel very comfortable. I'd be like, oh, this is already done. Oh, this is already done. No. Yeah. You don't get too comfortable because you get to a stage in your career, you start to get comfortable. Listen, don't get comfortable. Always be on your toes because, hey, this thing is technology. It could hit you from any angle. Now, what was the moral story? Moral story is your email campaign test. It should never be anything you should assume. You should always test. Before an email goes out, before a campaign goes out, test. Even if you're so sure of yourself, even if you're like, test it. Because there's so much magic and so much power in testing. Like, heavens no, I don't even know why I just assumed. I would typically not make such a mistake. But life sometimes reminds you that you're human. When you forget it, it just brings you back and be like, come right here. You're still human. And so it hits me. I was so embarrassed. I went back. I'm like, what would have happened? And then I saw what happened. Actually, whoever they set it up as, so when you log in into the account, it takes your name as the one who is working on it, right? Now, it wasn't set up to set my clients up as sender email. It was set up to use the username, right? So if I'm using the account, the entire platform, it takes my name. So any email going out at that particular time goes out with the person who is currently using it. Even if you're not the one that set up the campaign, but you're using it at that particular time, it takes your name.
Wow.
It should have been set up as a default, my client's name at the sender name, but it wasn't. It was set up the other way. I'm like, who even does this creepy thing? Like, whoever does it doesn't even have this set up. Like, I was so angry. I was like, who does this? Why would you do this? But I mean, I can't go meet the person. The damage has been done. Yeah, my name is there. So how do I, and even my clients, noticed it, and he's like, don't worry, Teecee, don't worry, it's not that. And I'm like, I was so angry because it was so embarrassing. But if only I had tested, I would have seen it. If only I wouldn't have to just assumed that it was done, and I would have just gone back to check, I would have avoided it, right? So, I said it to myself, I'm like, no more assuming, no more just thinking, because you can't expect that everybody that calls themselves an expert is actually an expert and know what they're doing, right? So, yeah, it hits me, and I was so embarrassed, I was so upset. I didn't know what to do. I was almost crying because it was so embarrassing. But I fixed it though, and it went away, and yeah.
It is time for open rate confession. So you're going to tell us about that email marketing mistake that made you cringe or made you scream internally, that got you thinking, how on earth did this happen? And then, of course, you'll tell us what lesson it taught you.
Okay. Right. If I think of something that makes me cringe, because I'm testing a lot of strategies, I'm doing it manually, there's bound to be human error. Well, my template, I would leave it as a template that I'd written. So let's just say my customer's called Chris. Hi, Chris. We noticed you were checking out bird spikes. Well, I forgot to change the name of the customer. So I sent to Paul, hi, Chris. We noticed you were checking out rodenticide. Well, I got the product right, but the name, not. And I just think, and it makes me cringe, but then at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it's one email. That customer's not going to absolutely sack you for it because it's a name. And because I'm sending it in plain text and I'm sending it from my own personal email address within the company, perhaps that makes it look more personal in the sense, oh, well, she's messed up slightly here. Maybe I'll email her and let her know. So actually, I think they did actually email me back. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. Please accept my apology. We then had a communication going. He then asked for an updated guide on a product. So that mistake, while I cringe at it, I'm not saying to do it as a strategy. I'm not saying that at all. But there's a cloud, there's a silver lining. Or every cloud has a silver lining, whatever the saying is. But that's something that makes me cringe because I'm just like, really, Rihanna? You could have changed the name.
Well, but we can't cry over spilled milk anyways. But that's pretty interesting. I mean, I'm sure the customer was looking at it like, and then you just go, I'm sure it's not for me. So along the way on your journey, you've made mistakes that taught you valuable lessons. Some of them
costly too, because mistakes can be a bit costly. I mean, failing is a big part of every entrepreneurial journey. We've all done something that didn't work along the line at one point in time or the other. But what will you say is your biggest fail in email marketing? And I think we'll go ahead and start it from there.
I would say, in general, beyond the 3 mistakes I've made that we're going to talk about, would be not being clear on who or what I'm talking about.
And I see how that can be a big one, because once your messaging is unaligned, it begins to cause a message audience mismatch, and a whole lot of things just go wrong from there. It's like a spiral, and you just spiral away.
Now let's shift gears a bit and go into what we call open rate confessions, where we actually talk about places where things didn't go as planned, or the messy middle in email marketing. So maybe a campaign that didn't go the way you wanted it, something that failed, or a mistake that happened. For example, where send an email that was supposed to have been scheduled, or send an email that was supposed to go to like a small segment to like the whole list, those kind of messy parts of email marketing that we usually sweep under the carpets. Do you have any interesting stories for us?
Well, one of my clients recently had a campaign for the pretty new product. I mean, they had the old version, they created the new version, but they didn't raise awareness before that. I mean, they did. They sent the week before the promotional campaign, they sent the awareness campaign that brings some results and brings some learnings. The promotional campaign went wrong. I mean, wrong. They didn't sell anything. I mean, it did have open rates and click rates, but the overall conversion, the expected conversion didn't happen. So the lesson learned was that the users don't know what they were offered. They need more education about the product, more about the product benefits, about the product features. So before you run a campaign, a promotional campaign, this was a discount campaign, first make sure your audience knows what is your product for. That is one of the recent learnings. I mean, it's not like I didn't know it, but it was like, okay, let's try it. Let's see what will happen. And if anything, we did raise awareness because the product has a free trial option. And they did get some free trial users from the promotional campaign. So it didn't fail completely.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And how did you feel about that?
Well, I don't like when my campaigns fail, but this was like we discussed it and we decided to try it. I mean, sometimes, our customers don't know the campaign failed. The email was well written, so the email results regarding the open rates and click rates were okay, but the final conversions, we didn't have any final conversions. So it's also, I like to consider these things also as a test. I mean, we now know that we are not going to repeat something like that.
Definitely. And I like that you talked about education, because sometimes it's like we have our list and there are certain things we bring and we just feel like they should already know because we've been talking about it. And so it's like we're doing a discount. And I've had like a similar experience where you're doing this discount and you feel like everybody should already know because you've been talking about it. And so you're emailing these people, like people that, already know about this particular thing. But the truth of the matter is that nothing stops you from still going on to still educate them a bit more, even though they may know about it to an extent, because now you want them to make a buying decision and you're even adding an incentive to it. So I think a lesson from this and from your experience would be
irrespective of how, what it is that maybe the relationship you have with these people, you should still go all out with your messaging, handling objections, and all of those things. Education to be very particular when you are doing, these kind of campaigns. Because in my experience, I think I thought about the fact that, well, these people know that I have this program and I'm even offering like a discount. So they should go ahead and buy it because there's a discount. So you're writing emails that that will tell them about it, but then you're focusing more on telling them that, oh, the discounts will almost go and all of that, when you could have been educating them. So I
Yeah,
think that that's the takeaway.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm always in favor. I mean, I like thinking about the emails as a way of conversation with the user. I mean, you drop in people's inbox. It's not like social media. On social media, you make a post and everyone sees it. And this is like more personal because it lands in your inbox, in one person's inbox. I mean, in 100 person's inbox, but the person should have a feeling it's like meant for them. We just wrote for them this email. And when you get your contacts to feel like you appreciate them, that's why this email, plain text email with just a question, works like charm, because people like to know that you hear them, that you care about them, that you want their opinion. I mean, nobody likes to buy from the people that are not interested in you. Now I mostly buy online stuff, but before I went to the shops, physical shops, whenever I wasn't noticed by the person working there, I would just go out. I didn't feel recognized. I was like, maybe they think I don't have money. I'm just watching, but I didn't get any reaction. So it was like, okay, I don't need anything from this shop. And whenever I was in the shop where person spoke to me, where the seller spoke to me, asked me about my preferences, what I'm looking for and stuff like that, this is the place where I would buy. And now that most of the people purchase online, the email, it's like this seller where you ask them what they need.
I find that interesting. First of all, we're going to take a confession before we go into your experiment. Now, we want to know, what is your biggest, worst, cringiest, maybe something that made you want to hide under the rock? But what's like your biggest email marketing mistake? Something that made you like really think about your life or question your abilities?
Oh, that's a great question. Honestly, mine is probably, well, first of all, I think that's kind of actually one of my favorite things about email is that you can really have a lot of flexibility to do experimenting and try different things. And at the end of the day, it is just an email. Like literally, it's just an email. So like if you upset someone or do something like, you wish you hadn't or you want to change it or whatever, it's just an email. You know what I mean? Like, it's really just not that big of a deal. Like, if people are getting bent out of shape about it, I'm like, you probably have something else going on in your life if you're freaking out over a little teeny piece of electronic thing in your inbox, or like on your phone. So that's one thing I do love about email is that you do have that flexibility of like, at the end of the day, you're a doctor, you're literally saving lives, like you're doing bigger things. But I would say probably just not understanding how to use it and not using it or learning how to use it and making the time to learn how to use it probably cost me over $100,000 in my photography business over the years, right? Like, because I just didn't use it. So I could have been making so much more money regularly if I had just learned how to set up systems and not sound like a robot in my emails and actually made some money and had a little bit more time freedom too. I worked so hard for so many years and I probably didn't have to work that hard.
Okay. Well, that's definitely interesting.
And that's it for this special Open Rates Confession episode. Once more, check out the full conversations in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with a friend. Till next time, this is Email Marketing Experiment. Don't forget to think it, test it, and of course, share it with us. See you next time.